It's recording.
So, everybody out there, thank you for all the views. I've almost got 10,000 views in the last 28 days, most,
Woohoo!
mostly on the shorts, not in the shorts, but on my short videos. So, I'll chop this one up and put it out on shorts too. Today, I have a wonderful guest. He lives here in Vegas, him and his wife. She actually aided us to get him on because there were glitches. Let me tell you who is here. He just saluted you. His name is Richard Stein, like a beer Stein, Stein. Rich Stein, aka Jackie Vegas, longtime stand up comedy writer, published author, available for roast, available for hosting and private parties, and word has it, he's an actor too. I saw that somewhere. Let's
Yeah.
get let's get to know him right now. Welcome to the stage, the one and only Jackie Vegas, aka Rich Stein. Hi, Rich.
Hey, Linda. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
I'm so glad you're here. You're in Vegas. You got the blackout curtains for the too much of the sunshine thing that
Right.
happens. Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
you're looks like you're in your music room.
Yeah, I call this my loft. I do my podcast here. I do my music recording, and my daughter. She's at college now, but she used to have her art easels up here. So
Wow.
it
She's an
fits.
art student.
Well, she's like a history major, but she's artistic. Always been an artistic girl, you know.
Wow. What type of art does she do?
And she's like, she does just about everything. She always did watercolors, clay, chalk, but she's really kind of a Lego. She's a Lego. She wants to move to Holland or Denmark, wherever that place. We've got a whole room downstairs that's the Lego room. It
No way.
says Lego room on the door in Lego. So she's been building Lego, and they say that's good for the engineering mind, to do that. So.
Yes, I should
mm.
start doing it so I don't lose my mind.
Yeah, we'll lose what I got left.
Yes. So let's her name is Amelia, right?
Amelia, yeah.
She had a birthday.
Yeah. Well, it's coming up real soon. She should be home for it's the 19th.
Oh,
She'll
wow.
November 19th, she'll be 19.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
went in the army in 73 and I'm 73 now.
That's the year I graduated.
Yeah, and next year I'll have to say I went into the army in 74.
Yeah. Keep that joke working, man.
So let's go into you, Rich Stein, married man in Vegas. Tell us what it's like being married and doing entertainment, how you make that work, where you met your wife. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I don't know if we do live in California. I figured I could have gone along with the whole Vegas thing. It probably would have been smarter, but yeah, we're in California actually. So, but
Oh,
yeah,
what
yeah, we
city?
don't.
You live in California?
Yeah, we live in Orange County, California.
What
Yeah.
city? My sister and my whole family is in Orange County.
Well, we're like Seal Beach folks. We live in the great beach of the Seal. We like
Not
it because it's.
that that's not too far away from
Mhm.
Laguna, is it?
Oh no, not at all.
So
In
when you
fact,
have
I have a lot of friends in Laguna. I go down there all the time. They all got boats, so I try to glom onto anybody that's got a boat.
well, next time you have a show, let me know because I got friends and family
Yeah,
there that'll come out and support you.
great. Well, to answer your other first question, being married, I'm one of those guys that waited. I never thought I'd get married and all. I remember all the comics when I first started. Their whole act was all about their kids, and I used to say boring, you know. And I was like, again, with a guy who's got a 45 minutes and 43 minutes is about his kid. Oh, he had kids. What an original thing to do. Because I've always been kind of a curmudgeon kind of a sarcastic guy. But But, sooner or later, I got up into my 40s and my mid 40s, and I met a gal. I met her. I was teaching high school for the juvenile delinquents. I had been on the road for 9 months in a motorhome, which is what my book is about. So I came home. My friend said, "Yeah, they're hiring at the county for juvenile delinquents. Only now they call them at-risk youths and alternative learners." So I said, "Well, hell, after being on the road for 9 months, I said, well, I'll try it out. And so I taught these kids that every Friday you could do a movie day, and you could show them. So I went into this Blockbuster video, and there was one girl there named Jenna, and I said, and I was following her around. She had her Jenna's picks were at the end of the aisle, and it was like really cool movies like The Indian in the Cupboard, uh, Finding. It was the kid that played the chess. In fact, where you're gonna go, where I just went in Washington Square Park. Bobby Fischer, Searching for Bobby Fischer, and all these cool movies. I go, huh? So I started talking to her, and she's a few years younger than me, but we kind of hit it off, and we would, I would go. So I'd go there every Thursday night, so I could show a movie. Because when you're working with at-risk youths, if they know they're gonna at least get to watch a movie on Friday, they might not be as, juvenile delinquent. So she would always have a cool movie. And then I met her at Barnes and Nobles. I go, wow, she likes to read too. Cool. Anyway, I used to do a joke of Mac. I'm dating a girl who works at Blockbuster. The only problem is every time I take her out, I got to have her back in 3 days. Ah! So that was my block. See, you've been with a girl pretty long if you're already putting her in your act. So and that was about coming up 28 years ago. So I
What?
guess she's stuck with me.
That's super. What
And
kind of work does she do?
well, she does something that you'd get a kick out of. Most people do. She loves games and gaming, board games, all that stuff. So her and her one of her friends, they created a game called Downtown Detectives, and they started it in downtown Huntington Beach, and it's a combination escape room and scavenger hunt. And so they've been doing that. They managed to make it through the pandemic and everything, and it's like they have landmarks all through Huntington Beach, Pacific City. You've got to go to this place. You've got to solve a little game. And people that love game, you got to go out on the pier. You got to go to certain restaurants and stuff. And after a while, they started thinking, well, what if people have already played this game? So they made a second game for Huntington Beach. They made a snapshot game where they can take it to any house in Orange County, LA, or anywhere else. And then they made even like a fourth game, and they've done it at places like Sage Hill Elementary, where Kobe Bryant's kids went. It's like you got to, you have to have a special permission just to go onto the grounds of this school and stuff. So it's like any other business. It's takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, but that's her passion. Games and gaming is her passion and stuff. So,
Wow. I
and
created a training game when I was in banking at Washington Mutual,
huh?
and it went viral, like
Mhm.
it was in the 80s. It's so
Mm.
fun to come up with games.
Oh
That's
yeah.
cool. I would be interested in
Uh,
when I go to Huntington Beach, I'm going to figure out how to do that game.
Absolutely, yeah. We can. We'll comp you. She'll comp you a game,
What?
but you
How cool.
because
My
because you're
sister and I
Linda
would,
Marcus Smith.
we would, yeah. Oh, that would be
Mhm.
so cool. So, okay, so you have a marriage and I don't, I get it. And you've
Ah.
done stand up and
Hmm.
comedy writing,
Right.
I assume for others, and you're a
Mhm.
published author. Let's break those things down. Tell us about your comedy writing, your stand up, and being an
Mhm.
author. That's
Mhm.
super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Well, I swear, from the time I was a kid, I always did impressions and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
And I remember, like, my voice has gone down a few octaves over the years. I don't know. Just it might have something to do with that I've been talking nonstop for 70 years. That might have something. I remember I make my kids laugh. I do Jim Neighbors. Golly, Mr. Sergeant. Golly. And I used to do a pretty good Rodney Dangerfield. I tell you, things are tough all over, I tell you. Yeah.
That's
But with the writing, I kind of, I one, I used to write for comics, many comics, and my coolest job was I wrote for Fraser Smith, who you might see he comes to Vegas quite a bit. He was one of the top LA DJs with Rick Dees for years. So I wrote for his radio shows and I played Dr. Schmooze. I was his agent. So I would be on the radio once or twice a week. And I would always say, Fraze, I got you a job at the truck tractor pull in Pomona. It was all that kind of shtick because he's self deprecating. So I wrote for him for probably 4 years and that was a radio job, so it was cool getting the paycheck from his agency
yes.
and stuff.
I love
And
Fraser Smith.
oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's a sweetheart. Good,
Yes.
been good to a lot of comics and just good old guy, good old Detroit Motor City guy. He
Wow.
introduced me to a lot of cool. I met Gallagher through him. I met Kip Adada. All the Jamie Masada, of course, but I met so many comics, especially the Sunday morning phrase. They would come in and do the show, and I ended up working with a lot of those guys that I met through his show and stuff. So,
Wow.
and the writing, I did I don't know if you've ever seen. Every time a big comedian passes away, I write a really long memorial about them. I did it
Oh.
for Norm Macdonald. I did it for Gallagher, Gilbert Gottfried, you name it. I've got about 30 that I've written. So that's one reason I started my podcast because I was originally going to call my podcast "Who Died" with a question mark, but when I had my first guy on, Tommy Moore, he's a Philadelphia comic, been performing for 50 years. In fact, I you got to have him on your show. He's just a fount of energy. He's a longtime Philly comic. He told me one whole podcast. He just talked about Shecky Green because
Oh,
he
I
worked.
want to hear that.
Yeah, it's the first podcast I ever did was with Tommy Moore, and it was Shecky Green. And then it went so long. He did another one just where he talked about Pat Cooper. Pat Cooper, one of my all-time favorite comedians, because he was an angry guy, but he was brilliant, smart, and a good guy. He played the character being a kind of a upset guy, but in his passion was so great in his energy. If you ever saw Patrice O'Neill would be on Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, excuse
Mhm.
me. He would be on Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, Patrice O'Neill, who was one of the all-time most brilliant comics ever. But when him
Yes.
and Pat Cooper got on there were birds of a feather. They loved each other because here was Pat Cooper in his 80s, and here was Patrice O'Neill in his late 30s. But they still were so strong, and they loved each other because they were both shtakas, the old Yiddish term for just killers on stage. They loved each other because they never held back, and you can still see those. I think Pat was on a couple times with Patrice. So yeah,
That's so cool. I remember Pat Cooper. Yeah.
brilliant guy, absolutely brilliant. So he and Tommy Moore, when he was in college, he went to see Shecky Green, and Shecky Green told the guy at the Westbury Music Fair, he said, this kid here wants to be a comedian. I want you to comp him into all 7 shows at the Westbury Music Fair, and I want you to let him in my green room, in my trailer, whatever he wants to do. I mean, how many comics would do that? And at the time, Shecky Green was playing Westbury Music Fair, and Shecky Green worked 20 years before he even moved to Vegas. And Tommy Moore will tell the whole story about how there wouldn't have even been a Vegas without Shaky Green because Shaky Green drank and he gambled, right? He drank and he gambled. So all the people, you had to turn him away. He was singing to the choir. Everybody who came in, all the owners wanted a guy that would promote drinking and gambling. And whenever he got drunk driving, the cops would let him go or the casino would bail him out because they needed his ass back in for the next show. So these are the heroes, these are all my heroes of comedy, and Norm Macdonald. But I'll send you some of those. In fact, I might re-release the memorial one I wrote when Gallagher died, because Bill Kirchenbauer posted today that they're actually putting a film out that's in the theaters right now that is all about his history.
Wow.
And yeah, I met him through the Fraser Smith show.
Yeah, Bill Kirchenbauer is the reason I became more professional at
Oh, good.
interviewing because
Okay.
he said, "You want me on your show?
Hmm.
You're doing a you're using your iPhone to take a picture of your screen, and I'm not
Oh,
coming on some stupid thing that isn't put together right, so you better get it
man.
together, girl." So I
Yeah,
did.
one thing I like about Bill, he's a tough cookie, but see, that's what the Pat Coopers and the Bill Kirchenbauers and the Kip Adotas, by the time Alan King, by the time they were pros, they could tell you where all the chairs should be in the comedy room, where the speakers should be, where the lights should be, because they'd worked all the. You don't mind a little French language on here, right?
Not at all.
They played all the shitholes. They played all the what Lenny Bruce used to call the toilets, because the first thing you smelled when you walked in those old rooms in L.A. was the toilet. Because I'm working at toilets at the time. So
Gosh.
yeah, Bill Kirchenbauer. That's why I've talked with him many times, and we have a lot of similar people. He called my phone. I said to my wife about a year ago, he called me from Thailand. I said, "Hey, Billy Kirchenbauer called me," and but he's got the right to be the way he is. Because if you I'm trying to think of where I read the podcast he's done. He talked about. Did you ever hear the story about he went to Michael Jackson's home because he was doing audio video installation? Bill Kirchenbauer
Wow.
in the
Impressive.
in the 70s, whenever the hell it was, he was, because he's like your age, I think, right around exactly, Bill Kirchenbauer. So he did a lot, and he got the Tonight Show. He got all the top. He had a sitcom for 3 years. A lot of people say, oh, it should have lasted longer. Just to get a sitcom pilot, you got to be a great comic. If it didn't go to air, well, you still got the pilot. So anyway, that story about him going in, he had a deal with Michael Jackson. He was hooking up all the VCRs and all. So it's on I'm pretty sure it's on the Carson podcast with a guy named Malkin. I can't remember. He was smart. He did the Carson podcast, so he interviewed everyone that he could find still alive was on Carson. But then he ended up, he had to thin it out a little. Okay, did you ever go to the Carson show? But that's what Bill Kirchenbauer will always say to somebody. I've seen different guys do podcasts. He'll say, "No, you're not ready for me. You don't have enough big name." But did he come on with you?
Yeah, he made good.
All
I
right.
went out and I did the work and I got professional and I came right back to him. This is the first person I wanted when I was professional. And he came right
Good,
on.
good for you. Yeah, he's a pro. He's a pro. He busted his ass. He was on all those shows like Make Me Laugh. He was right there. He was really even ahead of the curve. He was even on Norm Crosby's Comedy Shop, which was 1978.
Wow, that is going way back.
Right.
People don't even
You,
know that 1978 existed.
yeah. Yeah. So
All right.
yeah, I love all this. This is why I started my podcast, because the truth is, the Tommy Moore guy, he's such a sweetheart, and he has such a pedigree in comedy. He's been doing it for 50 years, and he's kind of semi-retired in Asheville, North Carolina now. But he's, and that's what I always try to be. Some of the he's a nice guy. You can talk to him. He's kind and all that kind of stuff. And one thing he told me, which is from our generation, we watched the Ed Sullivan Show. That was a working time capsule history of impersonators, comedians, jugglers, ventriloquists, senior Wences, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of comics our age say, "Oh, these new comics, all they do is talk about themselves and talk about how they identify and all this stuff." But Tommy takes the more loving approach, saying, "You know what? These kids never had the Ed Sullivan Show. We had a damn, we had this beautiful archetype put on our TV every Sunday night. So all we had to do was, you know, you dirty rat, you killed my brother. Everybody was just imitating, who are the greatest. And they always said that nobody did an Ed Sullivan impression. They just copied Will Jordan's Ed Sullivan impression. Or same with George Carlin used to say, I do the John Biner Ed Sullivan, which says, well, now you know. Well, now you know, what I know right here on our show. On his album, his Grammy winning album, George Carlin says, I do the John Biner Ed Sullivan. So that's all the history shit that fills my head that I love our generation, but I have to learn to accept because when I was a kid and had to get dragged over to my grandparents' house to watch the Lawrence Welk show, I'm thinking, holy shit. For this, I put up for a pot roast dinner. I got to put up with this bubblehead. But these young kids today, as sad as it is to say, whatever the older generation was, it's not their thing. So they got to come up with their own bag, whatever they're doing.
Yes, I like the loving approach. I get really tired of comedians bashing each other.
Yeah. Well, it's not a good, you can do that in your own little circles just for laughs because that's what roasting is and stuff. But, everybody's got their cross to bear and, it's
Remember how
fun.
good roasts used to be?
Yeah, the Dean Martin ones. I watch, I hate to say it, but I do watch I watch a lot of the older stuff. You can get on Johnny Carson. You can go down a wormhole getting on the Johnny Carson. You don't even need Me TV, or they're all on YouTube. And like on one Johnny, I know people always talk about the Dean Martin and the Lonesome George Goebel one, but you can go like one night he had on I mean, they had so many people on it, so they needed that long couch. It's like had like Rickles on, Glenn Campbell. I mean, it's like Jesus on one show.
Yes.
I watched the Dean Martin roast. Rickles, Jackie Gale. They're it's a time capsule for that era of comedy. So,
Before we head out, because I have another
oh,
interview, I have to get off this and get
oh,
back on. So I have to give
all
myself
right.
lead time. But tell people where you're going to perform and where to follow you.
Okay.
And
Uh,
also I have to hear your ukulele song.
well, I'm not doing stand up as much as I'd like to do, but that's why I'm keeping in touch with you because you're my inspiration for. But I do my podcast, Catching Up with Comedians, which you're only one. You're two back on the rotation now. You're gonna be second from right now. And
Ooh.
Catching Up with Comedians, my podcast, and I do. I'm always working on writing. I have my book. It's called Vegas Goes East. It was a story of my 9 month journey across the country and my motorhome and all the clubs I played and all the people I met. And I'm always working on. I'm kind of working on some short stories now because
Mhm.
that's the attention span of the audience. Short stories, folks. No more 349-page books. So, and I do stand up around, but I'm kind of trying to, after I retired from teaching, I had built up another, hour of material, but a lot of people use the pandemic as an excuse, but it definitely, a lot of I don't know, you're battling the ageism thing in comedy, but so far I don't know. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing and with my life with my wife and daughter, and we just went on a 1 month trip. And I told you I was at Greenwich Village, and I got to see the Bitter End and the Cafe Wa, and there's a place you should check out, the Grizzly Pear,
Yeah, I've
Pear.
performed. I love
Yeah,
it. Did you
that's
do
great.
man? Did you go up to the Midtown Grizzly?
No, I was down in the Village one, but
They're
yeah, it was.
both great.
If our ship hadn't been leaving so early, I would have. I would have gone back that night. I could have gotten a 7 o'clock spot. All right, I better play us off.
Yes.
Don't worry, Bob Marley. Not a thing. 'Cause every little thing for Lyndon is gonna be all right. singing, don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Rise up, the sweet little bird, outside my doorstep, singing sweet song, a melody clear and true, saying this is my message to you. I don't worry about a thing, Linda, yeah, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Especially in New York, and don't worry about a thing. Well, every little thing is gonna be alright. Oh, every little thing is gonna be alright. I said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Hit the wrong chord. Without my doorstep, singing sweet song, a melody's pure and true, saying this be my message to you. Linda, I love you, kid.
I
See you in the
love
Big
you.
Apple. See you
Thank
in the
you
Big
so,
Apple.
thank you so much. I'll get back to you when this gets up on YouTube.
All right, Linda, love you.
Oh, tell everybody where to follow you on social media.
Yeah, I'm just on Insta. I'm Jackie Vegas. Jackie Vegas on Insta, and just Rich Stein on Facebook. Those are my two big things. I'm old school, Jack. Old school.
And the name of your podcast?
Catching up with comedians. I should have the wait. Oh man, I made these great cards. I made these great cards, and I guess I don't have one on me, but I'll send you a picture of. It's got the QR code. My darling wife did it. It's got the
Wow.
QR code for Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music on one side. So it's catching up with comedians, all red. And
I'll go right now and I'll subscribe
okay,
to Catching Up with Comedians, and I'll make
yeah,
sure that I'm
okay.
what is your Instagram again? Jackie Vegas.
Yeah, Jackie Vegas.
Okay, I'll
On
do that too.
Instagram. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
I'll send you a link. Thanks, Linda.
Thank
Have
you. Bye.
fun.
Rich
Bye
Stein.
bye.
Yay.
Bye.